Is that the best pay-per-view that Impact has ever put on? Hello and welcome to Always Elite. Today we're reviewing the Slammiversary pay-per-view that happened at GILLEYS in Dallas, Texas. First match was an X Division Open Challenge laid down by TJP a few days ago. 3 people answered it: Trey from the Rascals, Jake Christ from OVE, and Willie Mack, as you may know as Mack in Lucha Underground. I'm just going to go over some of the finer points that I thought were good in the matches. Trey did a quad springboard arm drag to TJP, which I thought was pretty impressive because it takes a lot of core strength and a lot of stability to do that on the ropes. Mack did a standing shooting star press. That's very impressive for a guy that's going almost 300 pounds. It looks like he gained a little bit of weight since the last time I seen him. TJP had Jake Christ in a standing leg lock and Willie Mack in a DDT position. Trey grabs TJP and gives him a neck breaker while coming down on the leg and giving Mack a DDT. That's what the X Division is based on: speed, high flying, and very, very fast offense, and unique offense at that. TJP surfboards Trey. Jake Christ comes in underneath Trey and tries to pin TJP, and Willie Mack jumps off the turnbuckle and double stomps right on top, and everybody's down. That was a cool spot. I liked it anyway. TJP puts in a really deep leg bar on Jake Christ. I mean, to the point where his legs were in a figure 4 position, a reverse figure 4 position, which was pretty interesting, I thought anyway. Willie Mack gives a 6-star frog splash to Jake Christ. That's a play off of RVD's 5-star frog splash, which is cool. Mack pins Jake for the win. The X Division was built on the old TNA adage of total non-stop action, which this match very well was. The next match was the tag team title match. It was the North, Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, versus LAX, which was Santana and Ortiz, with Conan, and the other 2 Rascals, Desmond and Wentz. Now the North, on Friday night, won the tag team titles from LAX at Bash at the Brewery. So LAX was looking for some revenge. And apparently this wasn't a traditional tag team match, because all 6 were in the ring basically most of this match. They were in and out, but the referee really did nothing to stop it, so it turned into a tornado tag apparently. So it was fast-paced from the start. There was all the tag team moves, and all at once. It was really funny. Alexander moonsault slammed to Desmond off the top rope. That was interesting. That was it takes a lot of core strength to hold somebody up there and then jump up and flip them over. I thought it was kind of cool. Later in the match, it appears that Santana got hurt. He was holding his knee on the outside. I thought it was a work the whole time, but it wasn't. Because apparently after the match, the Rascals come over to help him up. There's a lot of officials over there. He might have busted his knee, twisted it. It looked kind of off-center, but we'll have to wait and see what that is. Page powerbombs Desmond into Ortiz, and then both the North pin Ortiz for the win. They retain their title. The next match on the card was a First Blood match. Killer Cross versus Eddie Edwards. During the match, Cross chokeslammed backbreaker to the apron to Eddie. This is probably about, 5 minutes in. There wasn't too much at the beginning, which looked pretty ugly. And then he proceeds to gut-wrench powerbomb off the apron onto some chairs that were on the floor. And it looked like Eddie hurt himself because he almost completely missed the chairs and hit the floor. Then Killer Kross got crushed on the ropes. And then Eddie Edwards jumped off the turnbuckle and gave him a Boston knee party right to the face, knocking Kross to the floor. And then Eddie gives him a tiger driver while he's out there. They get back in the ring, they fight for a while. Eddie gives 2 more Boston knee parties. Then he breaks Kenny the kendo stick, which is funny for a name for an inanimate object he thinks is his friend. Eddie's a little psycho. Breaks it up and sticks the jagged end right down Killer Kross's throat, making him bleed. Eddie wins the match. Next match on the card was RVD versus Moose. Yes, Rob Van Dam is still wrestling after 25 years, I guess. I don't know how, for all the pain and torture he put himself through, but he still does it because he says he loves the business. RVD says he's going to beat some respect into Moose for the ECW and the legends of the business. Because over the last month or so, Moose has been beating up all the ECW people and all of the legends in the business that would work for this company. So, already senton over the top rope onto Moose, which I think is kind of interesting considering his age. And Rob Van Dam is no spring chicken. I think he's 45. So, for him to do that, that's pretty impressive. Already backdrops Moose from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring on the ramp. Now, in TNA, or Impact, whatever you want to call it, the ramp is actually connected to the one side of the ring. So, there's no give, there's no take, it's just splat. Moose gives RVD the go to hell, the choke powerbomb from the top turnbuckle to RVD, which looked pretty gruesome, but awesome at the same time. It was a great spectacle. Moose uses the ref for a shield. RVD moves the ref, and Kross gives him a low blow, which was expected because he's that kind of person. Moose grabs a chair. And in RVD fashion, RVD gives him the Van Daminator, which is a spinning back kick through the face with the chair while the opponent's holding the chair. I, for one, don't care for the move because it's just a basic move, added chair. That's all it is. I'd rather him do something else. You know, RVD tries for the frog, 5-star frog splash and misses. Hits the chair that was in the ring. Moose spears RVD. Moose pins RVD. So the beating of the legends continued, and the ECWs, I guess, the ECW legends as well. Next was the 4-way Monsters Ball Women's title match for the Knockouts title. It was Taya Valkyrie versus Rosemary versus Su Yung versus Jessica Havoc, or just Havoc now, I guess. About 5-6 minutes in, Taya staples Su Yung 3 times in the background, and then proceeds to staple a picture of herself onto Havoc's forehead, which I thought was pretty gruesome, but it is a Monsters Ball match. Anything goes, I guess. Havoc hangs Taya in the corner, places a chair underneath her, and gives an elbow drop, sending Taya into the chair. That was alright, I guess. Su Yung then places a dog collar on Rosemary and then herself. And then they were attached by a chain. I don't know what that was symbolism is, but Taya brings a ladder in and smashes both Rosemary and Su Yung with the ladder. like a clothesline, like a double clothesline. Rosemary then proceeds to bring out the thumbtacks and pour them in the ring, which that's a very Rosemary thing to do if you don't know who she is. Taya then ties up Rosemary into a surfboard position and then proceeds to stomp Rosemary's face into the thumbtacks, which was pretty gruesome. We never got to see a shot of Rosemary's face after the fact, but I would assume she has a few thumbtacks stashed in her face somewhere. Taya sets up a table on the outside, gives the side effect to Rosemary from the apron through the table, which I thought was kind of cool. That was a cool spot, even for her to do, being the way that she is, very, Hollywood and all. Havoc goes for the pin, but Taya throws Cookie Sheet and knocks Havoc off the pin. Taya pins Su Yung to retain the Knockouts Championship. All in all, that was a decent match for what it was. I mean, it was women, but I mean, not to take away from it. There was no need for the hardcore stipulation in this. There really wasn't. The next match on the card was a X Division title match between Rich Swan and Johnny Impact. Rich Swan was the champion at the time, so he won it, I guess, at the previous month's pay-per-view, which I did not cover because I wasn't ready to do this yet. And I didn't even see the pay-per-view, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But Johnny crotches Swan and then proceeds to drag his body across the top rope. And just put your imagination to that one. You tell me how that feels. Swan does a rolling DDT to Impact, which I thought was neat. And he stood him up too when he did it. He planted him firmly on the top of his head. Impact goes and does a top rope Spanish fly into a standing Spanish fly, which I thought was kind of cool. He did a Spanish fly from the top rope. He picked him directly back up and did another Spanish fly over a standing one, which was impressive. Johnny must have really good core strength to do that. Impact does the Starship Pain to Swan. If you don't know what that is, it's a split-legged twisting moonsault from the top rope. Swan gives the Phoenix Splash to Impact. Swan pins Impact. Swan retains his X Division title. Next was the Impact World Heavyweight Championship match between Brian Cage and Michael Elgin. Now, if you know who Michael Elgin is, then you should watch some of his New Japan stuff. They always thought of him as an upper mid-card guy and never gave him a shot at any title that they had. So this was his shot to possibly win a title. He said he left Japan just to come here to win the title. Elgin, right from the start, was targeting Johnny Cage's back. Cage hurt his back at Friday's Bash at a Brewery. I don't know what the extent of the injury was, but he spent the night in the hospital, and he insisted that he be at this match, and you could tell that he was hurt right from the start. After a little while, Cage springboard DDT into a 619 to Elgin. I thought that was kind of cool for a big-ass guy like Johnny Cage to do something like that. That was impressive. Cage pump handle face buster to Elgin. That looked pretty cool too. Elgin squat powerbomb to Cage, again targeting his back, which I thought was pretty good for Elgin. I mean, he is a strong guy himself, but I don't know if that was the right thing to do or not, but we shall see. Then there was a test of power with clotheslines to each other at the same exact time. Just two massive guys just bulldozing each other. Cage F5 to Elgin, which I thought was a shot at WWE, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's just something that he picked up along the way that he's calling the F5. Elgin goes for a powerbomb. Cage slips out and cradle pins Elgin to retain the title. That being said, in this entire pay-per-view, no titles have ever changed hands at this pay-per-view, which is their biggest pay-per-view of the year, which is kind of weird and unexpected, so I guess that's why they may have done it. After the match, though, Elegant steals title and smashes his cage with it in his face. Walks over to Don Callis, who is one of the executive producers of the show, who was doing commentary at the time, tells him that it's his title. Don tells him that he lost 1, 2, 3. Elegant throws Don into the ring and tries to powerbomb him. But before he can do that, someone in a mask comes in and spears him before he could get it. From the looks of it and what the crowd was saying, even though he was under a mask, it looked like Rhino, so it was a gore. Well, I guess we're going to have to wait and see on that one. Then we come to the main event of the program, which is an intergender match. Sami Callihan versus Tessa Blanchard. This is the first time that an intergender match main events a major pay-per-view for a major company in the United States. Impact is setting a statement by doing this, and is setting the way for intergender matches to come. I think it's a great idea. I think it's wonderful. I mean, some people probably don't. I'm probably going to get some hate out of it. But, you know, I'm for intergender matches because it's all about equality. And I agree. So, Tessa starts the match up by beating Sammy up pretty good. Knocks him out of the ring. Tessa dives to the outside repeatedly. Sammy catches her diving outside and slams her head against the rail twice, and then proceeds to give her an apron bomb, which looked like it friggin' hurt. They were fighting outside for a while and all this other stuff, and Tessa gives a cutter to Sammy out on the floor. Or I'm sorry, up the ramp, which makes it even more painful. Tessa low blows Sammy and then grabs a bat and beats his brains in, pretty much. Beats him up pretty good. This is prior to this. Sammy had beaten her with a bat. Got nowhere. Sammy gives Tessa a cactus special, which is basically a pile driver with them facing the other direction. And if you don't know what cactus special means, it's basically Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, whoever you want to call him. That's it. That was his move, his finisher. And then at some point during the match, Tessa gives him the Magnum, which is ode to her father, Magnum TA, or her grandfather, I forget who her grandfather was. It's a Blanchard, so hence her name. But basically, it's just a jumping code breaker. It's a off the top rope code breaker. After the Cactus Special pile driver, Sammy pins Tessa for the win. I, for one, didn't care for that at all. I don't think any of those intergender matches should go that far. But it is what it is. You know, whatever. But it was a great pay-per-view, nonetheless. Now, the next time that they'll have a big pay-per-view is their Bound for Glory pay-per-view on October 20th in Chicago. That should be a good one. I always like the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. That's it for the review. However, I will be back with you on Friday. On Friday with a prediction show for Fight for the Fallen, which is the next AEW pay-per-view. And then after that is, the next day is New Japan's G1 Classic Climax pay-per-view, Block B matches, first round matches. So until then, always be elite.